Hi. Hey, so I just wanted to talk to you really quick about kind of a question that goes around with parents of young children. Will piano lessons make my young child smarter? I teach a lot of kids starting about the age of 4. So we'll talk about that. Will piano lessons make my 4-year-old smarter? Okay, I have 7 quick benefits for young children. Let me share those with you and then you decide. First of all, piano lessons improve language skills. There was a study done in China. They had 3 groups. Um, Ones that had zero, just the control group, nothing changed. One that had 45 minutes of additional tutoring in reading and language. And one group had 45 minutes of piano lessons 3 times a week. These 2 groups had those tutoring. And the group with music lessons showed the biggest improvement in language skills. Now, what's the benefit of language skills? That's when they could hear the differences and subtle nuances on like intonations, and they could understand what's being said easier. They're going to be better communicators. Makes it a lot easier to learn not only your own language but foreign languages as well. So it does give kids kind of a head start in school and in learning. Okay, the second thing, they improve math skills. Music is very formulaic. It's kind of built on math. In fact, when you're learning rhythm, that is fractions. It's taking a whole measure, cutting it into 4 parts. In fact, the notes are called quarter notes when they get 1 beat, half notes when they get 2 beats, eighth notes when they get half of a beat. I mean, so the way that they're divided, it's fractional. Also, just the whole circle of fifths and the formulas of the major keys and chords. It's not just random of what sounds good. There's a mathematical foundation for it. So the better you are at music, the easier you'll learn math. I'll tell you one experience I had. This was my first year in college, and second year maybe. Anyway, I was taking college algebra, and I was working full time. I was teaching piano in the afternoons and then going to school at night. And I was pregnant. So I was exhausted. And most of the time on this one night class, the only class I had like on Tuesday night was my math class. I was so exhausted. I would just go up. I would do the homework on my own because I had the syllabus, and I would just attend class to take the tests. So I take the test, first test, and then I go home and I just do all the work, and 2 weeks later there's another test. So I show up and take the second test, and when I hand it in to the professor, I asked, could I get my last test? I haven't been here since then. He said, oh, it's you. So apparently there's 100 points on the test, and then there's an extra credit question that's much more difficult. It's for 10 points extra credit. And I was the only one in the class that scored 110% for the class. So I think music had a huge part of that because I started music when I was 9. So it was all through my middle school, high school, and early college. It just made math make a lot more sense. It came a lot easier for me. Okay, the other thing that piano lessons will improve is reading skills. Reading music on a page is almost identical to reading words on the page. You start with the same skills. It's from left to right. The pictures on the page, the letters or the notes, make sounds. You have to learn to make those sounds. And then you put sounds together. In language, it forms words. In music, that forms intervals. That's like 2 notes at a time, from here to here, from here to here. And then those words make sentences. And in music, those intervals make chords and phrases. So they're kind of built on the same little building blocks, and they both represent sound, and they can both communicate. So it's a lot of the same skills, and if you've got early music, when you're learning to read, that's just going to come much easier. Okay, another thing, starting kids young in piano gives them marketable skills by the time they're teenagers. Many of my students went on to teach their own students when they were in their teens. Also, I had students in their teens that started playing for weddings and parties and making money that way. And a few have gone on and pursue. I have one student that's his full-time job is teaching. Well, and he plays gigs and is a music director at a theater now. So, but it allows for a lot of opportunities. Composing, teaching, performing. Okay, another skill is learning. As a young student, if they have to learn a skill, they have gone through the process of how to learn that skill. So anytime later in life, if they have a new subject in school or a new skill, like now it's going to be time to learn to ride a bike, well, it's very similar, and you can go back and explain. Remember when you first started piano and we did this and we kind of layered. Every week we practiced and got better and better and better until you could do it really well. So once they get that process down, it makes learning new things much easier. Okay, they get an advantage. How do they get an advantage? Well, it's just all these things together in school. If you've had music, so you're better, you're more adept at learning language, you're going to pick up math a lot easier, reading a lot easier. Just elementary school is going to be so much easier. Then you get these marketable skills that you have as a teenager and the ability to learn new things. Huge. So, what are your thoughts? Also, piano of any other instrument is a great one to learn young because it's the framework for all music theory and learning every other instrument, because there's a range from the lowest sounds on the piano to the highest sounds on the piano. That covers the range of every other instrument in the orchestra. So you have to learn to read the music in all those clefs when you do the piano. It makes transferring over much easier. Also, the keyboard is where music theory is visual and you're able to understand. Chords are just skipping one point note on the keyboard. In fact, in college, when I was in my theory classes, they would use the piano keyboard to demonstrate new concepts. It was hard for someone who's a vocalist to visualize music theory because they can't, your voice isn't something tangible you can look at. And it's also the same with anyone that plays like an instrument, trombone, trumpet. It's kind of the single note things where the piano can play the chords and it just makes it easier to understand the chords. Then you can go into guitar that does a lot of chords, but it covers all those other instruments. Makes it really easy to move on and learn others. All right, so based on these things, do piano lessons make your 4-year-old smarter? There are studies that show that it actually does. So just wanted to let you know that. All right, see you next time.